You are listening to the BlahCade Pinball Podcast, and I am your host, Chris Freebus, aka Shut Your Trap. He, over there halfway across the world, down under, where the water doesn't flow correctly going down a toilet, Jared Morgan.
I'm Dan Under.
Wow, an accent on top of an accent.
Yeah, that's right. A bad Australian doing a bad Australian accent makes it doubly good. You should know this.
I get greeted by my son now at least once a day with him going, "Good day, mate." And I don't know what he likes saying "mate."
Me-8. Why does he say me-8?
I don't know. And he's not, and we're like, that's a terrible Australian accent. He's like, I'm not doing an Australian accent. I'm like, but you said good day. So
what are you doing, mate?
I don't know. Yeah.
Now, I don't know if anyone's noticed this. I know we've only been talking for a little bit, but I upgraded some equipment at my end. I've got a studio mic now, and I think it's making a bit of a difference to the sound. So those people who are audiophiles who listen to the podcast, let me know what you think.
So long as it doesn't do that hideous screeching that it did that one podcast.
No, it won't do that because it's USB and it's not the onboard crappy Realtek audio that's on the Surface Book Pro or Surface Book 2, which seems to just do bizarre things. So hopefully it'll be nice.
Here's hoping. We'll find out.
Yes, we will find out. It'll be interesting to hear it in editing. And also, speaking of editing, I still haven't done the other podcast yet. It's been a very, very busy week, and we'll probably get into that shortly. Yes.
Which is probably why, as we're recording this, it's a few days before Christmas, and this is most likely, folks, is the last podcast of the year. So, Merry Christmas for you in England. Happy Christmas, and we'll do the next podcast at the start of the new year. So this will be it for 2018. But that's okay.
I'll try and release this on Christmas Day. So you have some post-turkey, some
stuff to ignore everybody with.
Yeah, that's right. Hang on, very important. I have to listen to a podcast now.
Right. Fortunately, we've got a smattering of different things to talk about this go around. So
we do.
It's not just us with filler, thankfully.
It's mostly killer, no filler. I won't say all killer.
Yeah, no,
setting us up for failure.
I will say, since again this is we won't be talking until the new year. I've got to get in my last bits of Movie Pass madness. My subscription for the year comes to an end in the first part of January, or maybe like the second week of January or so.
And let's be serious, the service is kind of coming to an end as well with how terrible it is at the moment.
Here's the funny thing, and it cracks me up. They've announced new plans for the new year.
Oh, really?
New pricing models and everything else like that.
Oh, great.
And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. If you even think for a minute that I'm gonna be like, oh, now, because like one of the things they're offering is, I think it's for $25 a month, you can see unlimited movies and go wherever you want to go. And I'm like, I don't believe you. There's no way.
I wouldn't either. I would never believe them after what the malarkey they put you through this year. No way. Right?
As it is right now, the steps I got to go through to get a ticket. So it goes specifically like this. This is what it's come down to for me being able to go see a movie on their dime. I'll open up the app, find out what movies are available for that day. I will then open up a different app like Fandango or whatever, find out what the first showing at that movie theater is of any movie. Then I'll go to, because I know that their box office opens up a half an hour before that movie. So let's say the first movie showing isn't until noon. So their box office opens up at 11:30. I can check in on the Movie Pass app a half an hour before buying the ticket. So if I go, and I have to be within range of the theater in order to check in too. So if I go before the box office even opens, then I have a chance of checking in and locking in the movie so that when the box office opens, I can actually get my ticket. Because if I wait until the box office opens, Usually the showings are sold out by that time, or
wow.
the
Do they have
amount
like
that they're
one
limited.
ticket available for each movie
Well,
cinema?
they only have X amount of cash per day for people watching movies. I'm on the West Coast, so on the East Coast, they're 3 hours ahead. So they've already had 3 hours worth of movies being sold before I'm ever even able to get in there. I mean, there's been times where I've gone before the box office even opens. I pull into the parking lot. I'm like, okay, here we go. I open up the app, and all of a sudden the movie goes, boop, no more screenings available today. So, like I said,
That's terrible.
there's no way I'm trusting these guys with any more money. Absolutely no way.
No, they're dodgy as hell.
Yeah. So that's, like I said, though, I got to get in my last few licks if I can.
Oh, totally, absolutely ream them for what's left in your membership. I would totally be doing it.
You know. Anyway, enough of that fun. Let's move on to, let's see. I know you have, and I don't know why I didn't receive it. I might have deleted it without even thinking. The latest Farsight newsletter came out, correct?
Newsletter is an accurate way
Newsletter,
of describing
yes.
because it is a little bit belated. There's a lot of news in here. So for those who haven't received the newsletter, it's newsletter number 79. And in it, they're talking about out now for PS4, Big Buck Hunter Pro and Woe Nelly is out. They also advertise that it's now for all the usual platforms and coming sooner on Xbone and Nintendo Switch. They also are shilling their Party Arcade, which is available on Switch now. Let's keep moving. They're also celebrating the 12 Days of Christmas. I have no idea why they're celebrating the 12 Days of Christmas. Apparently, they're giving away free stuff. So if you like free stuff and you can put up with Facebook, please go over there and do that. The winter sale, you get Stern Pack 1 for 50% off at the moment. But then we go down to the bit of news that piqued my interest, which is Win a New Pinball Machine, it's entitled. And it says, as you may know, we sponsor Pinball EDU's monthly raffle to win a new Stern pinball machine, America only. It doesn't say that, but I already know that it's America only. So anyone outside of the US, don't even bother worrying about it. This month, we're giving away a 6-month subscription to Stern Pinball Arcade's Woe Nelly on PC and mobile platforms to everyone that buys a ticket. Now, that's where I stopped reading because I saw the word subscription and I went,
yeah.
Now, I think I reread this and I read this last night and I've slept on it and now I've read it again. And I think this is what's happening here. I think the subscription is just to support Pinball EDU and give people an incentive to actually buy a raffle ticket because there's only going to be one person winning the pinball machine, right?
Yes.
So perhaps Pinball Arcade here is actually doing a really good thing and offering people a time-based subscription to Stern Pinball Arcade on Steam and mobile just to incentivize them to actually donate, which is a great thing, right?
But I'm confused. Because there is no subscription to Stern Pinball Arcade in the game currently, unless
I think if they're going to offer this, they're going to have to do a lot of admin because if a lot of people go, gee, that sounds like a great idea, sign me up. And they have to manage the way I think they would do it would be to, you know, give everyone temporary access through Pinball Arcade's back end.
Which they could, and then they could just pull it 6 months later and yank the access.
It would be an easy enough way to do. And probably the amount of people who are donating, like we're talking about, and like, I don't know, even if it was 1,000 people donating, that's not a huge amount of admin.
True.
It's like basically enable all the names in a batch. Like you do it all in one big batch. You'd have a big spreadsheet. You'd load it into the back end. You'd enable them. And then you would set a calendar reminder to remove them all 6 months' time. You know, it's probably.
Well, I hope you're right that that's what it is, because if it is, like you said, that's a good way of throwing some support
behind Pinball EDU.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What I'm hoping that it's not is that they're bringing over the model of that's in Stern Pinball VR with
to all their other properties.
yeah,
That would be really suck.
it would. It would. Although on the other hand, the front end, the UI on Stern Pinball Arcade on PC is still utter crap.
Die.
It is just absolutely miserable to navigate through. I don't play it because every single time I load it up, I'm like, oh god, this.
Yeah.
It's just yuck. Just hate it in every way, shape, and form. So, but the fact that it also said that it would be going for mobile, yeah, I don't know. That's interesting.
It's
yeah,
strange, isn't it? Yeah. So
it
would definitely be. They would have to do it through their backend, because on mobile, there's certainly the only way you can unlock tables on mobiles for them to give it to you through their backend, through your Farsight login. So I think that's what's happening here. I really hope that's what's happening here, because going to a subscription model for a mobile app, I don't think anyone's tried that particular pricing model, but I have a feeling that no one will be wanting to actually participate in a pricing structure. It might be good for, if I'm trying to put a positive spin on it, it might be good for people like casual players who aren't quite sure if they like pinball and they just want to test it out for a couple of months. Maybe. I don't know. It seems weird to me. Why would you actually subscribe to something where you can just buy it for $10?
Yeah.
It doesn't really make a lot of sense. But anyhow.
Okay. So
shrugs.
Just saying, guys up there at Farsight, maybe a little bit of clarification. I don't know. It's causing us to go.
Things that make you go,
Speaking of things that make you go, Jared posted pics of a certain Christmas miracle.
I have a Christmas tree in my garage, and that Christmas tree is called Star Race.
And it's actually lit.
It's lit. It is lighting up, and it's playable.
Wow.
Hooray! It's finally happened.
That's awesome.
It's awesome. Yeah, I said that by Christmas time I'd like to have the thing flipping, and lo and behold, it's a Christmas miracle.
Now, did you have it? Did it function in any way, shape, or form before you started working on it?
Nope.
No.
It definitely did not function at all. The boards were immediately shipped off to a guy, and they've been sitting in his parts rack for a year.
Okay.
Waiting for me to get through all the reconditioning. So this is literally the first time that I've seen the thing light up.
Wow.
And it's quite an experience. It looks very nice with the bright white LEDs in it. I thought that with LEDs I should have gone with warm, but I actually don't think so. I think because the plastics are beautiful and clear and new, white looks really good in this table. Like it's just making everything pop so nicely, and showing almost the true colors of the plastics. And yeah, the only thing I've got to tune is the Very targets. So both Very targets aren't resetting at the moment, and that's because I was talking to the guy who came over and did the board work. He goes, yeah, there's a little adjustment you can do on the Very targets that shifts the mechanical bit a little bit left or a little bit right. And that makes a huge difference with these targets, because they've got this wiper blade that sort of goes over this set of contacts underneath them. And if the contacts aren't lined up and continuously contacting, it means that the machine doesn't know what state the Very target is and won't know to reset it. So you've just got to tune it slightly. It's just undoing a nut, and it's one of those like sort of slotted adjustment things that you just got to tweak a little bit left, a little bit right, and it'll be fine apparently. It's certainly not the solenoids, because they've got like a little relay solenoid that releases the shaft. So it's not that, because they all check out. So it's it should just be a bit of tweaking there. And there seems to be a couple of under playfield switches that, despite my efforts with sandpaper, still aren't working very nicely. So they must be really gunked up. I just can't see them. So I'll get in there and give them a good burnish, and we should be cooking with gas. Everything should be working as normal.
Awesome. Were the kids excited?
Oh, they were excited. I gave them one play each because everything wasn't quite working. I think the other thing with the the very target is. I don't know whether I have or not, but I think I'm the actual very target arm at its uppermost. See, it sort of goes in an arc, and when it gets to its upper point, I think it's just dragging on the plastic a little bit. So I might need to put a couple of washers underneath the plastic just to lift it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The good thing is that because the plastics aren't lit by incandescence, they're not going to warp anymore. So
okay, yeah,
they won't actually be affected by the heat that we often see in pinball machines. So that's going to be a good thing. But the circuit board, the way the guy's done the circuit boards is pretty full on. He's done a lot of work on them. He's replaced a lot of key transistors on it.
Yeah.
And he's also done a lot of earth mods on the board. Like there's on one of the driver boards, there is wires all over the back of it, bridging key parts of the circuitry together. So it's got a good grounding across all the key parts of the board.
Yeah.
He's also done this thing called a thunk mod, which is what happens on these Gottlieb System 80s is when you turn them on, you can sometimes get this sort of a solenoid pull down when it originally powers on. Just when the boards are initializing, they put this pulse through and it can pull the solenoids down. And this thunk mod filters that out. So it's basically on 3 of the chips, he's just wired directly to the legs of the chips and put a capacitor in line. And what that does, it just absorbs that initial pulse and stops it from happening. So there's some stuff I've never heard of before that he's done. And he's actually run, it's going to be interesting if I ever have to move this thing, because he's done, rather than doing what TNT Amusements do and just do the ground mod between the 2 driver and the logic board, he's actually done full earth grounding from each board discretely to a center point in the table to make sure it's absolutely 100% grounded. Because these boards are probably a little bit different to the ones that TNT would have. Like they are in worse shape than the ones that TNT would be dealing with. So you have to be a little bit more ruggedized with the way you do it. But the good thing about doing it this way is that the earth will always be true. And that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
And we found, interestingly, too, is he did all the bridge rectifiers, which, switched the line voltage to 50 volts and 25 and all that. And we found that when he put the meter on one of the points, it wasn't reading exactly right. And you might have seen the condition of the fuse block.
Yes.
It's absolute cactus.
It looked like, and I commented Jared, but it looked like somebody had put a bonfire inside.
Yeah, it really was in bad shape because the operator had hard fused everything.
Right.
So what could possibly go wrong, right? So anyhow, these fuse holders were in pretty bad shape. Now 2 of them were terrible, but this other one was actually feeding the general illumination. It was looking okay, but the voltage coming out of the bridge rectifier was telling us that it wasn't okay.
Yeah.
So we put a brand new fuse holder in it and boom, instantly fixed the problem. Everything started lighting up. So if you have one of these older pins and you're finding some really weird voltage issues, just check your fuse holders because that could be a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, after fixing that problem, the thing is powering up and it's a very interesting game to play. The center bank of 4 drop targets are drain monsters. They are terrible because they're facing right onto the flippers and they're not on an angle. If you hit them wrong, you'll go in off every time. So you got to be pretty careful when you hit them. But I managed to get the cross field shot to the upper drops, and that's an achievement within itself. It's not an easy shot at all. So I'm going to have a lot of fun trying to dial in the shots to this one. I think it's going to be good.
Good stuff.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
So I wound up also having I wouldn't call it a Christmas miracle because shouldn't have taken this long at all. But I have finished up the microcab.
Oh, yes.
So
I saw photos on Insta. It looks really good. I think the paint scheme you've applied to it looks awesome.
Yeah, I think so. I made a post on our website, which is BlahCadePinball.com/episodes. And I basically made a post about all the painting that I did on it. And I think look, I hate painting. let's just be clear about this. I really hate painting, and I learned quite a few things in my painting with this, and made some mistakes in how I went about it. That part of it is born out of laziness. Like step one, I should have sprayed it rather than used a roller.
I was going to say TLDR, just use an airbrush.
But well, and I have a full spray unit, because that's what I was doing the clear coat on for my playfield on Firepower. But it takes forever to clean the thing when you're done, and I didn't want to deal with
It's a pain.
And so I just was like, I'll just use the roller and everything. The amount of problems that using the roller added, it's just kind of like
terrible.
Okay, so lesson learned there. And then me trying to put on the BlahCade logo on the side of the machine, that was
a
whole other just bad comedy of errors.
Just go, and when you do these commercially, just send them a sticker.
Well, what we decided was that possibly, there's the company called Fathead, and they make these giant vinyl things that you can stick to your wall, basically. They're just static clings, and they can actually print white, because that was the issue. If you did with standard vinyl, nobody prints white. You can do black, and the vinyl is the color of the vinyl that you do, but you can't do multi-tone or whatever. And so that was kind of what the issue was. Plus, I didn't want to pay $20 per sticker.
No, it's way. I mean, it would have been great, but yeah, $20 a sticker. That's
right. And even going with Fathead, it's still going to be about that price. It's just going to be a lot. But after doing these various methods of applying it and it coming out terrible, I just painted back over it. And like, nope, I'm good. That's fine. I don't need it.
Experiment done.
Experiment done.
Failed.
And more to the point,
move on to the next experiment.
If I wind up doing these, and I still haven't worked out pricing or how much is all going to cost or whatever, but if I wind up doing these as a kit, if you will, people, you can paint it yourself. Whatever you want to do, you can come. You can come bare, and you can do with it whatever you want.
Customize it to your liking. It's a marketing feature.
Because at first you might think, no, but I want the value of it painted. You don't want my paint job. This
adds no value. In fact, it decreases the value of the products.
Because literally, I was looking at mine. I was looking at it, and I went, okay, you know what? I can accept it. I'm fine with what it is. But if I paid somebody and this is how it showed up, I'd be like, what?
I want a refund.
Yeah.
It's
not worth my headache and not worth your griping. So,
honestly, people will probably just leave it raw in most cases, unless they're really hardcore about it.
I pretty much agree with that, probably. So that was the painting. I'm now I got to write up basically the final post about all the wiring. And boy, what I thought was going to be a 1-day thing turned into a 2-day plus thing.
Wow. Okay.
And again, more lessons learned, because my ambition was greater than what the boards could handle.
That's right. You said that there was some interface issues.
Well, first off, when I bought all the buttons, they all had LED lights in them. And there was, within the post that Jeremy Williams had made on Tested, he had 2 LED lights, shining through. And I was like, well, maybe he didn't have LEDs on all his other buttons. And here we go. My friend who was helping me with all the wiring, he was like, oh yeah, no, we can, no problem. And because I asked, I said, but he only had 2 capacitors on the board. How's that going to work for all of them? Oh, no, we'll just put the capacitors in line with the cable or with the wire, and that'll take care of it. And so I spent, a couple of hours just splicing cable, soldering it into capacitor, putting on shrink wrap, heating it, doing all this, and then stringing it all and wiring it all. Would go through all of that effort and I go and plug it in at home, and nothing. I got nothing. And I'm like, what is going on? And emailing back and forth with Jeremy, turns out that he's like, well, there's not enough power on the board. There's enough power to power 2 LED lights, and that's it.
Right. So you wanted to power 15 LED
I want to power 9.
9. Okay.
9. Yeah. And I kind of went, oh, okay.
Hey.
And then he was worried that he was like, oh, and you might have blown your board too. I'm like,
possibly, yeah.
Oh, isn't that great? Well, here's the thing. We never put the capacitors on the board. So there was no power whatsoever being sent out anyway. So there was no way for it to get damaged.
That's lucky.
So I know, right? So I stripped
could have actually blown it.
So I stripped all of those wires out and
reconnected them,
then soldered,
reshrink them.
Well, no, I didn't have to reshrink anything. I didn't have to reshrink anything because now it was no capacitors in line. It was I soldered the 2 capacitors onto the board like I should have originally,
yeah.
And that we never did. And part of the reason why we never did. So I pointed it out to my friend, but the Teensy LC board goes on top of where the capacitors are. So we put these little standoffs in order to to raise it up high. And then we never pulled it back off again. So it was kind of one of those out of sight, out of mind. I had mentioned at the beginning, but my buddy was thinking how he would wire things because he was used to dealing with an Arduino board.
Right.
And so that's why he was doing the capacitors in line and stuff like. And so when I mentioned it to him, he's like, well, how come we didn't put it down at the beginning? And I was like, I mentioned it. He goes, nah, you didn't mention it. And I'm like, no, because you already had your idea of how this was going to wire.
Yeah.
Turns out some of our other issues, so that was just the LED issue. The other issue was getting my 2 flippers per side to function.
Right.
So again, the idea was that I wanted to future-proof this thing. No, in Pinball FX 3, there's never a need for a second flipper button.
No.
But I was like, there might be once they get to certain Williams tables. What happens when they do Black Knight? You need MagnaSave. Am I really going to always having to be doing what their MagnaSave is? Because that doesn't make sense because there's a left and right MagnaSave on Black Knight. And when we talked to Mel said, we're not quite sure what we're going to do with that yet. So I was like, I want to future-proof this thing.
If they don't know, then you need to look to the future. Exactly.
Right. So I want to have this going. And then the other thing that I wanted was I bought a set of dual stage flipper leaves. So that, because on a lot of Williams tables, if you have that third flipper, it's that whole aspect of if you push the flipper in halfway, only the bottom flippers flip. You push it all the way and the upper one flips also. And I thought, hey, and I know that in Pinball Arcade, that functionality is still there.
Yep. I'm pretty sure in Zen, if you're using the analog ones, it will do that too.
Will it do that too there?
On the Xbox, yeah. I think so. I seem to have done it a couple of times. Maybe I'm getting confused with Pinball Arcade, but I'm sure you can.
So anyway, I wanted to have that aspect too. The problem is, my way of thinking was that this board is basically just a duplicate of an Xbox 360 controller.
Right.
That's not how this board is set up. Right. And so there was some communication issues between me saying what I wanted, my buddy who doesn't play pinball at all, not quite understanding what it is that I wanted, and purely applying a circuit board mentality to it. And then how Jeremy had labeled things.
Okay.
And not quite explained 100% because so on the board itself, it had left flipper, right flipper. And then in another section, it said R2, L2. And I thought, so all we have to do is we have to just plug the cable into R2, L2, and away you go. It's going to be working. And no, that's not the way it worked. Instead, it had been coded for the L2, R2 that if you were doing a multi-stage flipper, it was still with the mentality of there's only one flipper button there. And it's when you push in some portion that goes 10% and that'll activate the one flipper. And then if you push in the rest of the way, that'll, via its grounding and how it works, tell it, okay, now we're going to do the rest. And that's how it works.
So it's expecting a potentiometer to be connected to that. particular.
Which
output.
the two-stage flipper springs should actively do. That should be fine.
But they're digital, not analog. It probably was intending an analog input there.
Well, no, what it was again, he was in order to make the analog nature work, if you will, because certainly on the pinball machine itself, it's not analog, it's step digital. 1, step 2.
Yeah, it's digital.
Right. And so what he was telling the board, the way he had the firmware was telling it was, yeah, when you're at this stage, it's this amount of pressure, which is going to automatically flip, and then the rest of the way will do the whole thing. But I was interpreting the L2 and R2 as being, oh, those are the L2 and R2 buttons.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's not how it worked. And so I wasn't getting any two-stage flipper action. So then I contacted him, and he was like, and I said, look, this is what I want. And I said, let's ignore the two-stage aspect, and let's just talk about 2 flipper buttons. And then it was like, well, why do you need that? And I was like, because this game. It's like, oh, okay. So he wrote a piece of firmware, updated the GitHub site with the firmware so you could flash it. It's like, okay, there, try that. So boom, try that. Still not getting anything. I'm like, what in the world is going on? And we're racking our heads. And my friend goes, well, was the pin sim board that is up on the website that he shows as an example goes, it's not the same as what you have. Yours is labeled differently.
Oh.
And I went, okay. So I took a picture of it, sent it to Jeremy. I go, is there by any chance these things are in the wrong configuration? And to which the response was, how did you get that board? That was a prototype board that I did for one dude. I thought I'd pulled that down.
Oh, so you bought a prototype board for some other bloke?
Because I basically bought it at the exact same time as that guy was buying his.
And he had it up on his cart so he could
just
buy it
long enough so that guy could buy it.
Dude, he's serious.
So all this effort that we were putting into R2, L2, no, I need to be putting into R3, L3.
Oh.
So I finally get it.
No way.
So I was like, okay, great. Here we go. So I go ahead and I plug into where R3 and L3 are. And I'd already soldered in, because I didn't want to hard solder the wire to it. I want to be able to, remove them. So we'd already soldered in this one thing, and we'd tin the edge of the wire, so I just would jam it in. Well, by that point, I jammed it in so many times it was getting brittle, and so I jammed it in one last time. Checked, sure enough, I'm getting them. I go to do my my calibration for the accelerometer, and so I'm shaking the whole box to get the cursor to bounce where it needs to go. And in that shaking, the wire snapped.
Oh no!
The wire snapped, and the soldered part stayed stuck inside the board, and I could not get it back out. So now I'm like, this is now probably the 3rd time I've completely dewired everything, so I could pull the board and work on it, put it back in, wire everything back in. I'm totally frustrated. So now I'm trying to figure out, okay, now I got to desolder this board thing, this off. And I discovered that, hey, I've still got leftover Molex from when I completely did all the connectors on 8-Ball Deluxe.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it matches the pin configuration. I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to put it in. So I'm trying to, you got to understand, folks. Up until this, my level of soldering experience was 1 day's worth.
Yeah.
And I didn't, and I wasn't taught how to solder. I was shown, do this, do this, do this. So I didn't understand the whys, the hows, the whatnots.
The wherefores. Yes.
So my buddy, when he had me do all the wiring and all the soldering, so he taught me what to be doing now. So now I'm thinking, oh, I've got a head full of knowledge. This is great.
Yep.
One thing we never went, though, over was how to desolder.
Oh, right.
Didn't go over that. So I'm sitting there thinking, well, if I heat it up, and we're talking about 8 pins that were plugged in on a solid bank. I'm like, well, just heat up and you start pulling, right? And if you're quick enough, not realizing how quickly everything steals back up.
Yeah.
I wound up the piece of plastic that had the pins on the plastic came off. So now there was just individual pins. So I was like, okay, whatever. So I'd heat up each individual spot and pull the pin. So I got all the pins out, but there's still solder in the holes, not allowing me to now put my Molex in. I'm like, how do I get rid of this solder? In the process, I wound up.
Did you lift a track?
I don't know what I did, but one of the very pins that I needed was no longer responding. And so I was like, I don't know what to do, and I wound up buying I wound up buying this desoldering ribbon to try and remove the solder that way, but that still wasn't doing the trick. And I finally just went, you know what? Why am I going through all this? I've got another board. I've got 2 extra boards.
Oh, so right, okay.
I just went ahead and I rebuilt an entire another board, put that in. Victory. It finally worked. Decision. So yep. I was all happy. My flippers worked. My LEDs worked. My plunger wasn't working.
Oh.
And now I'm like, why in the world is the plunger not working? And again, I'm following. I could get it in Windows. It recognized the plunger was working because if you go to your controller and right click and hit properties, it'll show that all your buttons are, functioning and triggering. And sure enough, plunger was showing it was working. I'm like, how come I'm not getting it working in game?
Yeah.
And again, on the tested side, it gave these instructions of, you push the start button, wait until your LED 1 light starts flashing really fast, then go ahead and pull your plunger and set it back. That'll set it. Bob's your uncle. Well, every single time I was pushing the start button, which was hooked up to LED 2, I'm waiting for LED 1 to blink. LED 1's never blinking, never blinking, never blinking. I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, are we back to this being an issue of it somehow being plugged into the wrong thing? So I'm emailing again saying, hey, this is exactly where I have it plugged in. Why is it not working? Don't know. So then on a whim, I'm like, what happens if I just push in my launch button and hold that? Sure enough, it starts fast blinking. I do the plunger. It registers the plunger. I'm like, finally, we've got it all working. I loaded into Pinball Effects 3. Sure enough, I'm able to play. I'm like, fantastic. Plunger's still not quite what I want. My nudging, man, I got to whack the heck out of it in order to get it to even.
So you got to really make it touchy.
Barely move.
You got to make the accelerometer really fine.
Well, and I think I have a solution for the accelerometer. Again, when I calibrated within Windows, I had it go corner to corner to corner. But in order to make it reach the corners, I'm like tilting the thing on its side.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
I think I need to just set it back and not even bother. So that just the slightest tap will give me the nudge.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking everything's hey, it's all working. It's all great. I tried it out with Zaccaria Pinball. It works with Zaccaria. I tried it out with Pinball Wicked. It works just fine in Pinball Wicked. I'm like, great. Well, here we go. Let's try TPA. Yeah. You think you know where this is going, folks? I load up TPA. I'm able to navigate the menu. I'm able to select my table. Before I even launch the ball, I push the flippers. Flippers are flipping. I pull the plunger back to go launch the ball. And nothing. I'm like, what's going on? It, for some reason, was tied to the joystick. So I pulled the joystick back. Sure enough, that sends the plunger going great. Plunges the ball. Ball starts bouncing. I get 1 flip, 2 flips. All of a sudden, I have no control whatsoever. Ball drains. Game freezes.
Wow.
None of the buttons work.
Oh, jeez.
Whole thing just froze.
I'm like, ships the bed, basically.
What is going on? So I'm like, okay, I back out of, I go to my keyboard, I back out of Pinball Arcade. I load up Stern Pinball Arcade. Same thing. Does not actually. I don't think I don't think it even recognized.
I was going to say you expected Stern Pinball Arcade to work better. It must be mad.
But I'm just like, I don't understand. It registers when I look up this controller in Windows. It's registered as an Xbox 360 controller. It's not registered as a generic controller or whatever. It's popping up as a 360 controller. There is no reason why it shouldn't work within Pinball Arcade. The only thing that I'm thinking, currently there is a certain crashing bug happening in Pinball Arcade. Now, I plugged in a regular 360 controller. Pinball Arcade worked.
Right.
So I don't know why it suddenly was freaking out, but it was freaking out.
Now, I know that, there are 360 controllers that, like the official ones that Microsoft sell.
Yes.
And then you've got all the generic, like the market 360 controllers that are like, the Mad Cats and those
right, and Logitech and stuff like that.
Logitech. Yeah. Now, my feeling is they might be using a similar driver pack, but they're not using the Windows 360 IM an official 360 controller from Microsoft driver pack. And I just wonder if it's that finicky, the way they've actually got things set up in Pinball Arcade. That's the reason why you got it.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's the way they have things set up.
Yeah,
I really wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I reckon that's your problem, eh? And that's not really something you can solve except report it for the rare occasions that you actually want to play Pinball Arcade again.
And honestly, that's where I'm just kind of like, in a lot of ways, I'm just kind of going, is this the death nail? Is this one
for you? Probably is, yeah.
Or do I just only play Pinball Arcade with a controller?
Well, that's the easier solution, control. Isn't it?
Yeah.
All the other pinball titles that you actually want to play more work, and that's the good thing, right?
Yeah.
So that's perfect, if you ask me. It's probably destiny. It's probably destiny, really.
So now I want to take it over to my friend's house that has the VR headset.
Oh yeah, that'll be amazing.
And let him try that out with a Zen VR.
Will he need to configure everything on his end? Will he need to download the driver software? It'll just work, will it?
It'll just show up. You plug in the USB, and it shows up as a 360 controller.
So the configuration actually saves it as firmware on the board.
Yes.
I see. Right. That's very cool. Very cool.
So anyway, the only thing that I have left to do is deal with the fake coin door, which we're making out of wood. And then I will spray paint it and make it look nice and black. And we've got some red Lexan that we're going to put for the coin door or for the coin slots. I don't even know if I'm going to bother putting any kind of 25 cents, thing. It's just like, but again, my friend was sitting there going, because he's very much a perfectionist. And he was like, well, I don't know how much you want to look. And I don't know if the corners are quite, because when we're doing it in wood with CNC, you're not going to quite get these corners. I go, all I want is impression. I'm not looking for exact. It's just the general impression that there's a coin door there.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Oh man, but I love the fact that you're so passionate about it. But at the same time, it must get slightly annoying sometimes. It's like, dude, I don't actually care.
Well, again, because this is us just dealing with his garage where his woodworking and laser cutter are and everything else like that. You step into the room right off the garage in his house. And that's where he does all of his model work.
Right.
And he just made a full AT-AT that is slightly larger than what the toy version that you could buy from Kenner was. But of course, his is 100% accurate.
Like down to the rivets, essentially, on the
pretty much. He also made a Death Star turbo laser. I mean, the thing looks amazing, and it's 8-inch diameter by, I don't know how tall, but it's the detail that's in this thing. And it's not just him, he 3D prints it, but then it's how he paints it and how he goes and
weathers it and makes it look, and probably kit bashes a whole lot of stuff on it too, right? So he's probably does what yes, I'm going off on a tangent here, but it's tangents are what we do best.
Yes.
So you might know of a YouTube channel called Tested, which has Adam Savage on it from Mythbusters.
Right. Well, Tested is the same site that was hosting Jeremy's.
Oh yeah, right.
Pinsim.
So sometimes, Jamie being from the movie industry and doing a whole lot of mock-ups and stuff, what he's got is he's basically got like boxes and boxes of old model pieces, and so what he does is he's taken a Nerf gun and he's made it so it will fire like 1,000 of those Nerf balls, and made like a massive magazine basically. And what he's done to make it look authentic, he's gone and taken his little bag of goodies, his model kit bag of goodies, and just put random bits of model stuff onto the side of the Nerf gun to make it look like an original weapon sort of thing. And they call it kit bashing. And apparently that's how most of the aircraft were made in Star Wars.
Is exactly how it was, and here's how sick these guys get with this. Because again, my friend is fully knowledgeable about this because he's dealing with making models and stuff. He says they track down what model kits were actually used.
Wow.
Based off of the year. And they will look, I mean, they're looking at every photo they can and figuring it out. And once they've figured out what model kit is being used, then they're buying those model kits if they can find them so that they can recreate it 100% exactly as it was for the movie.
That is insane. So they're looking at the back catalog of Revell model kits.
Yes. Yes.
And looking for just one component from that one model kit that this guy happened to have in his shed that he used to build the Millennium Falcon model.
Yes. And not only that, but they're getting a hold of these kit companies and basically asking, hey, do you still have the molds for these? In which case, a lot of times they do. And they're like, hey, how about whipping us up a batch?
We'll take 100. And we'll sell them to enthusiasts or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, and so they've actually been doing this. And so there's a couple of guys out there that, they're building these models, and the only way they're doing it is if they can do it 100% authentic to how it was originally designed. Because for Star Wars, that's what they did. And I think for Empire, that's when they did the vacuum molding over the top and made it one solid piece, kind of thing. But that first initial model that was built was exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, all kit bashed.
Yeah.
Insane. Just the talent that these model builders had back then doing those model designs was just incredible. I'd love to see, I'm sure there's articles written out, but I'd love to see what models they combine to make the Millennium Falcon, because that is a very strange looking aircraft to actually build. That's cool. It's so cool what they do. So
point being, I ain't into that level of detail.
No. So circling back around to the conversation. No, thank you.
No. So now we're toying with the idea, because honestly, the soldering was not difficult. I kind of enjoyed it. That was really kind of cool.
Fresh wires, man. It's fun to solder with fresh wires.
I marked down the length of all the wires that I wound up using, so that I would know, so I could easily cut them again. So basically, all the hard work is done. The R&D, if you will, is done for how to do, mass produce, I say, to make, say, 3 or 4 at a time. And now the idea, though, is also because we realized the first thing we did was build the box, nailed it all together and all that, right? Well, then when you go to screw everything in, it's really difficult because the front and back, there's a total of 8 inches.
You can't get a screwdriver in there.
You can't get a screwdriver in there. We discovered that the hard way. So we were like using jeweler screwdrivers, little short stubbies to screw everything in. And it was just like one of those things where it was like, if we had have known this, but how could we have known it? Because we need to build it, and then we need to place everything to know where it goes. What we should have done was only done a temporary building so we could take it back apart and then properly screw everything in. But that got me thinking, where it was like, it might be just easier to make this as a kit.
And then have actually assembly instructions.
Assembly instructions. You get this thing home. You get this home, and then you can go ahead and, hey, if you want to screw the side walls together, you screw them together. If you want to nail gun them, you nail gun them. If you want to just use glue, you use glue. Whatever, it's already done. But like, I'd already have the leg holes, screwed. You're drilled into place, because those were a nightmare to do too. That really
doing the screw holes would have been horrible, because you're drilling into the side of
you're drilling on a 45-degree angle corner.
I remember having to re-drill my screw holes in the Star Race cabinet, and I was kind of lucky because I had some degree of holes left, and mostly not, because it was all rotted out. But at least I had a sort of a guide where I could put it in. But drilling on a square edge, would be really hard to do.
So like I said, now that we actually have all the measurements of where everything is exactly, it'll make
good to go.
All of that good to go. So, but also if it was all nice and flat, compact, it'd save on shipping, that kind of thing. So that's kind of what
be heavy as hell, but
it's going to be always to be heavy. But so it would just be a matter of, hey, here's the instructions. assemble how you will. It'll be like a big kid Lego kit, and have fun that way.
It'd be cool. I'd love to throw one together, but I wouldn't like to ship it to Australia.
No.
Because it would be very expensive.
Yep. So that's the next step, is to try and figure out, okay, how much did all this actually cost, and how much did my time cost?
You wouldn't make any money if you were factoring in your time.
No, but you still got to factor in a little bit of that, And this is where I say, if you're building 3 or 4 of these at the same time, well, then it's assembly line. Then it's really easy because that's not an issue. But like I said, and then as my friend said, he did all this for me for free. But
so then will be a commercial charge to actually get everything cut and all that.
Yeah, exactly. Because like I said, just to cut one cabinet alone on the CNC machine, 5 hours.
Yeah, that's a lot of power and that's a lot of time.
Yes.
But I guess the hardest part was actually laying it out in CAD or whatever the assembly software is. So now you've actually got the blueprint. It's just time to cut and power and wear and tear on the equipment, which you'd have to factor in as well.
Right.
But, that's good. That's time saving there that you don't have
But
to
it'll certainly be cheaper than you yourself if you don't have any tools like me. I don't even have a table saw. You know what kind of saws I have at home? I have a hacksaw and a basic hand wood saw. That's it. Those are the only 2 saws I have.
This is what I've got. I've got a handsaw and a jigsaw.
Yeah.
That's it. And my jigsaw is terrible. Like, it doesn't cut straight. So
it's like, although none of this is rocket science,
there's tools that make it easier.
You're gonna need tools if you want to do it yourself, and
that's a cost.
A huge cost. Like, because there was another guy, and I gotta track him down. That was building his. He was building again exactly this, using the instructions that he found online, like I did, and building one. And I was asking him about how much he had spent in parts, and it was about the same as me. And he goes, "But I've had to buy every single tool." He goes, "So I bought a new table saw, I bought a new chop saw, I bought." I mean, we're talking about
$1,000.
Worth of tools. No, he was using it as a good excuse to finally have these tools.
Right.
But again, how many people are going to be wanting to do that?
Not many, if any. No.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's where we're. So I should have that post written up pretty soon, and that'll get posted to the website, and you can see all the final stages of that. But it functions, it works. I'm very happy, and it is so much nicer to use actual flipper buttons.
I bet it would be so good to be using real.
Well, one of the complaints people are having right now with when they play Black Rose, and there's the walk the plank mode, and you dive into the water, and it chases you. You got to be
mashing those buttons.
Mash the buttons. And if you've tried mashing the buttons on a controller, it's virtually impossible with holding it like you would. I wind up putting in my lap,
on your lap,
and I'm going like, it's like track and field days all over again, right?
It totally is. Yeah.
And so I purposely loaded up Black Rose just to see, and I did it on my cabinet, and it was like, oh, this is easy.
Basically, the pirate was an Olympic swimmer in comparison to what it's like.
Yeah. Michael Phelps was suddenly in the water.
Yeah,
so that was all good. Yeah. Oh, what else? I know what else. So it's no secret if you've been on the Digital Pinball Fans site.
Oh yeah.
There is a beta currently for the mobile version of the Williams tables from Zen. To the point, and I don't know if it's still open. You can maybe try. Zen wanted 100 people in the beta.
Yeah.
And so Gord, the site owner, wound up putting a post up on Digital Pinball Fans that, if you want to join the beta, sign up here. So I don't know if it's still open or not. I don't know how many people have gotten in. But that being said, I've been able to play with the beta, which tells if this tells you anything. Yeah, it's only on iOS at the moment. But if this tells you anything, people were asking, hey, when are we going to get mobile? Soon.
The answer is pretty soon.
Soon. And I'll tell you this, by my looking at the beta, damn, it looks done.
Ship it, baby.
It's there are still balancing issues that I think are being worked out and stuff, and there's probably some
tuning
tuning.
issues there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it looks fantastic. The interesting part about it, though, is it's very much a mobile game.
Right. It
And
has
when
the mobile aesthetic.
it has the mobile aesthetic, and what I mean by that is that there's the ability to earn things so that you can open up the table, and it's much more, a lot of different variations than anything that you have on the PC. And I'll give you a classic example. You can earn different ball skins, you can earn different flipper skins, you can earn different ball trails.
That's pretty cool.
And I'm not sure exactly how those things work, if they're like you apply them and you get to play with it temporarily, and then after a while it disappears so that you can earn it all over again. But there's one of those things I'm messing around with the beta. I haven't been able to quite put it together how that's going to work. But one of the awesome things, okay, so within the game you can earn tickets and Z. If those sound at all familiar to you, that's the exact same thing that you use when you're playing Skills app, which is the app that you can go head-to-head multiplayer, and you can earn actual money. And the currency that is used in the Skills app is tickets and Z. Why I'm bringing that up is because within the game itself, within this Williams app, you can push multiplayer and it kicks you automatically over to Skills, and there you are. You're playing
that's cool.
the Williams tables over there.
They tested that whole thing out on mobile with the Bethesda pack, I think. Yeah, so that was a skills enabled app. So that's obviously the alpha of what they're trying to do now in the mobile version.
And the beautiful thing is, because I already had the skills app because I was playing Zen's eSport edition, which is Epic Quest and Mars, and I was also playing Farsight's Pinball Tournaments app. I logged in the beta, and boom, all my all the tickets that I already earned, all the Z I had already earned, the amount of money that I have won. It all was right there, ready to be used.
So it's only pooled for Zen though, right? So it's per title. It's not like a total of like currency across all the skills games that you play.
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is. Oh, it's.
But what I'm saying is, like, for instance, I had already earned like $46 winnings in the skills app between the esports app and the pinball tournaments app. So all of a sudden I open up the Williams app and I go in and boom, there it is. There's my $46.
Oh, wow.
And I can use it to play the cash money game. So it's all pooled into one aspect.
See, that's really interesting. I would have thought that it would be skills enabled, but it would be tied to the franchise. But it's not. It's universal. Very interesting.
But trophies are specific to
the
app, to whatever app you're So your achievements are tied specifically to whatever the game is that you're playing, but your pooling of everything else is spread out elsewhere.
That makes sense.
So that's kind of cool that it's right there built in. The other interesting thing that they're doing is it's called daily challenges. And the daily challenge is essentially the challenges that are in the FX3 app, which is 1 ball challenge, 5-minute challenge, and survival challenge.
Right.
But what they've done is they've broken it up into levels. So level 1 is earning 5 stars worth of points. As soon as you do that, boom, the game ends. Now you go to play it again. Now you're trying to earn 10, and then after that you're trying to earn 15 stars. And each time you meet that goal, then that's where you get these unlocks, if you will. So like I said, ball skins or flipper skins, that kind of stuff. That's where that opens. And currently the way it's designed, you get 3 of those just automatically. And then there's a 4th and a 5th one. The 4th one is, hey, watch commercial and you'll get it. And the 5th one is pay some Z and you'll get it. So it's all stuff you earn within the game. And that's why I say it's got definitely that mobile feel where there's some things that you can do via watching external sources or advertisement, you might say, to earn credit, but you don't have to do any of that. You can still function just fine.
Yeah, right.
So I think they're onto a winner here.
That sounds pretty good to me.
It's going to be one of those things. I mean, there's aspects of it that I'm still not clear on. Like I said, I don't know exactly how outright purchasing of the tables will go, how that's made available or whatnot. But just if looking at it as a mobile game and somebody that has played mobile games before, and I'm somebody that hates paying anything for a mobile game, hey, if you're giving me a chance to grind and do it,
well, then no worries.
Yeah, then no worries. I think it seems fair and doable what's being thrown up there.
Well, that's really good. That's good news all around. I think there's going to be a lot of very happy mobile fans out there when this thing gets released. And
I will say, I can't post it, unfortunately, for you folks, but I did do a side-by-side comparison of Medieval Madness via Stern, or not via Stern, via the Pinball Arcade app and via the Zen app. And I'll tell you this much. The ramps look gorgeous. They're smooth.
Yeah, they do.
There's no jagged edges. They are see-through, just like they are in the FX3 app, instead of that cloudy, milky,
weird
white, if you will, for the clear ramps. The ball feels like it's making connection to the table and actually rolling on a surface. As opposed to when I played I quickly went over to TPA and played, and although the ball's not quite as floaty within the app as it is on the PC version, there's still this definite sense once you've played it within Zen of, boy, the ball just seems like it's hovering, like it's not actually making physical contact with the table in TPA versus what it's doing in Zen. So that's kind of nice. And there's also the fact that I saw the ball actually jump up off the table within Zen.
Wow. Which was left the playfield.
It left the playfield, kind of launched off of one little section. So I was like, that's pretty cool that they've even managed to add that in. So that'll be exciting once everything kind of goes forward. Like I said, it's in beta right now, so there's a lot of stuff that I'm not quite sure
what's going on.
Yeah, if it's them merely throwing it at us and seeing what we all think, or if it is indeed going to make it to the final product. But I can guarantee you the visuals are going to make it to the final product. And for those wondering, currently Medieval Madness and Fishtails uncensored. So,
very nice.
That's, again, I don't know if that'll make it past the beta, but currently
uncensored.
Uncensored.
So. Well, that's very good news. Very good news. Oh, wow, that was a big lot of stuff we kind of talked about in this wrap up.
Well, we have to tide everybody over until we come back.
True. No, well, that was good.
Good. So yeah, keep your eyes open on our website. Like I said, BlahCadePinball.com/episodes. There'll be an article again, like I said, regarding the microcab being finished. I guarantee you, and I do this annually, and I've been doing it on Facebook, but I'll make sure that I post it to that. Once the new year is officially upon us, there'll be my list of movies for 2018 in terms of what I thought were best, worst, mediocre, and then I have my special categories list that is quite fun. So keep an eye out for that too. That'll be popping up. Make sure it's a little late to get it as a Christmas gift, obviously, since this podcast probably won't be coming out until Christmas. But make sure you go visit redbubble.com, search BlahCade. There you will find our product, and you can go ahead and purchase that and wear it with pride and be like, yes, I support BlahCade, and look fashionable doing it.
I am a human.
Because and I mentioned this because Jared found this absolutely incredible mixing board that would allow us to do sound drops and do phone call audio with like beautiful reception, that we could deal with all the audio issues right there on the spot. It's a fantastic mixing board, and it costs an arm and a leg, and it's going to require a whole heck of a lot of t-shirts to get. So
it's called the Rodecaster Pro. if you want to have a look at it. It's very sexy, and it would make things very shiny indeed for our show. But yeah,
if there's a goal for us,
that's it.
Yeah, if you were having a vision board, that would be right there in the center going, that's what we want.
That's it, man. Yeah, so the Rodecaster Pro, very shiny. I think it would be very cool to use. But yes.
Should we throw that in should we create a BlahCade Amazon account and just throw that in the
wish list.
In the wish list and go, here you go, folks. Do we have any buyers? Go for it.
Pretty much. Yeah, that would be good. Very, very good. But yes, it's a dream at this stage. But that
would be the awesome goal. We keep on talking about things that we want to do to improve software or whatever. That right there would be a solve
a multitude of problems.
So who knows? Hey, maybe you have a softball team and you would like it to be called the BlahCade Podcast Softball Team. We've got shirts. They're softball style shirts there, and buy your whole team that.
Yeah, we could even do a custom run of them with your brand on them if you wanted.
Well, no, the brand would be BlahCade Pinball.
Yeah,
we'll sponsor your sports team, if you will.
BlahCade Sluggers.
Yeah, Anyway, all right, folks. That's it for us. Hey, have you followed us on Twitter? You really should. The show is at BlahCade. Jared is at Jared Morgs. I am at Shut Your Traps. You can also drop us an email if you so desire. We haven't had an email in a while. Apparently, people don't so desire. Instead, they've just been communicating us over Twitter, which is perfectly fine. That's cool. It works for us. Yeah. But the email is blahblahblahcade@gmail.com. Beyond that, I think
that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. So here we are. I forget what episode we're up to. I think we're like 159 or something like that. And
something like that.
I can't believe we've been doing this for 4 years now, I believe.
Something like that.
So, heck of a way to wrap out 2018. I'm looking forward to 2019. And I don't know, I'll put this out there. Maybe I'll get Firepower up and running. I don't know. Well, you know what I was going to say? I thought about this when I was mentioning all the painting, and I don't like painting. Yeah, I think I'm just going to say, screw it. I'm not going to even bother trying to fix those scratched out areas on Firepower now, because I don't have the patience for it. I'm just going to clear coat it and go.
Totally. Because the thing is, if you clear coat it, it locks in the patina. And I think there's a few bits on Firepower that are like that for me. Like, I've touched up some parts that were just terrible, but there are some parts I've left untouched, and it adds a uniqueness to the table. And I think go with it.
Yeah, because I'd much rather be playing it than staring at it in pieces.
Having stuff on top of it. Yeah, just get the thing cleared and get it done. Get it done, man.
So there you go. That's my goal for 2019. Of course, it's been my goal for 2018, for 2017, for 2016.
No, you've readjusted your goal now. You're not going to restore the playthrough. You're just going to lock it in and then start putting it back together again. That's achievable.
That is achievable. The hardest part of the whole thing is going to be I just need to print out the decals for all the numbers and put those back in place. But
achievable.
So there you go. All right, folks. Again, we appreciate your listening. We appreciate any support to the show that you throw our way. And as you can hear in the background, my family is getting noisy, so of course it's time to leave. All right. Until then, folks, we will see you all in the new year. Bye-bye.
See you later.